How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video, and today it is our lineup preview for Game Week 3. We're going to take a look at how we did last week in Game Week 2, how our lineup's shaking up for Game Week 3, and any potential future transfers, because we're probably going to be rolling this week, and if we do, let's explore some of the options we might have going into next week. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, give us a follow over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so you can join us live tomorrow for our deadline stream. We do all of our FPL live streams over on Twitch, and we'll be doing one tomorrow, 1 hour before the FPL deadline. There's a pinned comment down below to let you know all the information, as well as the link to the stream on that one. Now, without further ado, let's see how the team did in Game Week 2. So we got a green arrow last week, moving from around just the low 3 millions up till inside the top 2 million, 1.76 million. We're doing pretty good. We made the one transfer as we had intended to do at the start of the season. It was Kane swapping to Holland. That didn't immediately pay off. However, if we hadn't have done that move, we would have been net even anyway, because I would have captained Salah. That would have been the other option. So all in all, it was actually neutral. And now that we have Holland, we have his price rises in there. We dodged the Kane price drops as well. And we're looking good for this upcoming week as well. We didn't use any chips either. And I think overall the team is performing quite well. Ramsdale, again, wasn't expecting a clean sheet. Just the 1 point for him. Liverpool, again, a bit disappointing. Robertson was getting in very, very good positions, but just nobody found him. Trent Alexander-Arnold somehow managed to pick up a bonus point, even though he didn't get any returns whatsoever. Reece James getting on the score sheet, which is fantastic to see, as well as Ivan Perisic getting himself the assist as well. Cancelo doing Cancelo things, 11-pointer, very nice to see there. Martinelli continues to go on his streak, getting 2 goals in 2. Neto, a bit disappointing with just the 3 points, but we'll take what we can get. Jesus with an absolute monster haul, so those who went from Jesus to Mitrovic probably aren't feeling too good about themselves. And then Erling Haaland captain, just the assist. Unfortunately for him, if Foden had squared the ball, we would have been talking about a much better haul from him, and I think he was better of a choice captaincy-wise than Salah. Liverpool do look a bit disconnected at times, but with Nunez suspended, they'll go back to Firmino playing through the middle, who seems to be fit for this upcoming week against Man United, and they'll stick with their tried and tested with Diaz out on the left, who didn't really do too much apart from that one wonder goal. Before then, Robertson was picking up much better positions than he was. Diaz was really wide up until he kind of cut in, beat 3 people, and then shot, and it somehow ended up in the back of the net. But swings and roundabouts, because the game before, I think he struck the woodwork and came close another time as well. So, again, it's about a bit of variance there as well. On the bench, Jota Silva, a goal versus Man United, although De Gea should probably be saving that. Andreas Pereira, you know, same points as Neto, so it doesn't really matter which one we would have picked out of those two. But I was always going to play Neto, had the home fixture, and just didn't get the result. I saw a screenshot of him where he basically almost had an open goal and he missed it or something like that. Not too sure how that happened, but again, Neto, I think we can be a bit more patient with personally, unless we're going to make some wholesale changes. We'll talk about that when we get to the transfer section. But all in all, very happy. Green arrow. Hopefully this week we can have another good week, get into that top million, and then slowly start to chip things away. Personally, though, at this point in the season, rank doesn't really matter too much unless you're way behind the 8 ball. Remember, there's like over the amount of players than what we had total of all of last season, is over 9 million or something crazy like that. So wherever you are ranked, doesn't really matter too much. See how it is after 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and then judge it from there, because there's a lot of managers that will play their chips early on, like the bench boost, triple captain, all that sort of stuff, and it kind of inflates their ranks a little bit, and then they kind of either don't play or things don't work out, and then they just kind of leave their team to just kind of sit there. So you'll get a better idea in several weeks' time, so no need to panic on the rank side of thing. Now that we've talked about Game Week 2, let's move ahead to Game Week 3 and see what defense we're going to be lining up with this week. So defense looking the same as what it was last week. We got the one free transfer if we want to make anything, but like I said, I'm probably going to roll it, and we'll talk about more what we can do maybe in a week's time when we have 2 free transfers. But Ramsdale versus Bournemouth, he's going to play over Ward, just the better fixture in my opinion. Trent and Robertson, they're playing against Man United, who are literally 20th, and I think that if United play the way that they did versus Brentford, and Liverpool play the way they did versus Crystal Palace in the first 30 minutes, United might be down like 4 or 5 now at halftime. So they could get some attacking returns. Reece James looked fantastic first 2 games. He's going nowhere. Perisic coming off the bench and getting himself an assist. I also did notice, I think I mentioned this on the live stream as well, he did take a corner from one side of the pitch, but he took it with, like, one time he took it with one foot and the other time he took it with another, which is a bit crazy. So he might be in line for a start this week. Conte talked about they're going to be doing rotation when the Champions League and all that sort of stuff comes in. But there's a lot of the kind of journalists that are in the know, as it were, seem to think that Perisic could be in line for a start this week. Whether that pans out that way, we'll have to wait and see. They are the early kickoff, though, so we will potentially get some early team news. So that might be a wait and see. Even still, we've seen that he can come off the bench and get a return as well. João Cancelo, again, been fantastic first 2 games. Wish I kind of started off with an extra City defender because 2 clean sheets and 2 is looking pretty good. But they do have a tough away fixture. They always find it difficult versus Newcastle, so maybe it might be a bit of a kind of a wake-up call for Man City this week as they go to kind of a rowdy St. James's Park for a Newcastle team that's been playing well ever since basically Bruno Guimaraes showed up to Newcastle and started playing week in, week out, and anyhow has revolutionized them. So again, very tough game for them as well. I don't expect City to potentially keep a clean sheet. I think it's going to be a tight affair. I think I may have predicted them 2-0, but maybe looking back on it, 2-1 or maybe even a draw might be on the cards for that fixture there as well. Now that we talked about the defense, let's check out the midfield. Now currently I have the armband on Mo Salah, and if we want to take a look at some of the stats, you'll have to join us. For the deadline stream, we'll be using some of our tables from the Fantasy Football Scout members area to see potentially why we want to pick Salah over the other guys, but it's mainly due to the fact that United just aren't playing very well at the moment. We do have Martinelli in there. He's going to be a mainstay. Has Bournemouth. We wanted him for this run of fixtures, and potentially maybe even the third Arsenal attacking asset wouldn't be the worst idea. So those with Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka, you might be in for a field day for this game week. Andreas Pereira is currently in there, and he's currently flagged. I'm not sure if he was substituted because of injury or cramp or what it may be. I think he's still flagged in FPL as well at the time of recording, and we're still not sure whether he's actually going to be playing. So what I might end up doing is just having to swap him out for either maybe De Silva or Neto. We'll look at the bench in a second. But I do like this fixture on paper, although Brentford has been playing quite well. Pereira has been doing good as well. It's just a matter of not sure if he's going to start or not. So maybe I do just go with and just say, hey, look, we'll just stick with Pedro Neto. He's playing against Perisic. It's not the end of the world for that. Whatever, basically. Just hope that both Perisic and Neto get returns if we're unsure that that Andreas Pereira is going to play. And if we do get the Wolves potential early lineup as well, then that would be like, okay, when Neto's playing, well, we're definitely going to start him because we can just guarantee that as well. Although it would hurt that Pereira was earmarked for this fixture, and I was going to play him over Neto, and if he did play and did get a return versus Brentford, that would probably hurt a little bit, especially if Neto blanks. But again, if there's any inkling that he might not be playing, we might have to put him on the bench. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the bench as well as the forward line. So here is the bench and the forwards, as well as our vice captain and the full team as it stands. As we mentioned, we do have Andreas Pereira currently in the team, but maybe I'm kind of convincing myself maybe I should go with the sure thing and go with Pedro Neto, especially if I see him on the team sheet. If I don't see Perisic, then maybe it's not the end of the world to play Neto and then just kind of hope that Neto does well. Perisic comes on and then gets a return because he's not going to keep a clean sheet anyway. Maybe that's what I kind of hope for. But maybe De Silva's a capable replacement. Damsgaard is going to be playing from the bench this week as well, so no threat to De Silva there. And Silva's got 2 and 2. So I think that he could be on the cards for a potential start. And maybe we play him over Pereira just because I think Brentford have shown us a bit more than Fulham have so far. We already talked about Ward versus Ramsdale. Ramsdale is the better goalkeeper, playing for the better team, playing against potentially weaker opposition, even though he is away from home. As well as it looks like Dominic Solanke could be out again this week, which means that Bournemouth's main threat is not going to be playing, and Cameron Archer is going to be on the bench in the third slot. Gabriel Jesus gets the vice captaincy this week as well, as I like him over Holland in particular, and I think that if there is any chance that the Liverpool game were to be cancelled, I want it to be on Jesus rather than Holland, just because of Jesus' performance last week, as well as the opposition he's going up against is going to be much easier. I think Arsenal are going to have the freedom of the park, and like I said before, Solanke is going to be injured, and from what I've learned over the preseason is that basically if Solanke isn't playing, even if Bournemouth do have the ball, they're not going to really break with pace anyway, even with him in the team, but without him, there's no real threat there. So they're going to be parking a bunch behind the ball, and I think Arsenal are going to control the game and probably keep a clean sheet, which is one of the fixtures we had earmarked for a clean sheet for Arsenal if you wanted to go for the likes of Ramsdale or one of their defenders. So Jesus would be my potential second best captaincy option this week, and it's strictly off of opposition and nothing more at the moment. So that's the team in full. We have one free transfer. I don't think I'm going to be using it, but we may be using 2 free transfers come next week. So let's take a look at what those tinkering options potentially look like. So this is FPL.team, where you can check out anyone's team as long as you know the ID and see what your team is looking like, or any team, whenever game week you want, basically. So for game week 4, this is how my team would line up, assuming I don't use any transfers. It even gives you a little nice predicted points at the top, which is kind of cool as well. So we would have 2 free transfers going into this, assuming I don't use any transfers. We would have Salah captain versus Bournemouth at home, Jesus with the vice captaincy as well, and this is kind of how the team would line up. We have Neto back in there versus Newcastle at home, but there could be some changes, and we would need to make a change unless we were to burn a transfer. Now, looking at the options, a lot of managers have been getting rid of Robertson. I think he's still quite good. I think the fixtures versus Everton, Wolves, Bournemouth could be some clean sheets there. Yes, the Chelsea fixture isn't all that great, but that's 4 fixtures away from then, and we could potentially be wildcarding after game week 7 during the international break, which I think is after game week 8, if I remember correctly. So I think I'm more inclined to keep Robertson, especially versus Man United for this week, especially versus Bournemouth at home. He's been getting into a lot of the central positions, no matter who's been playing through the middle. That was typically occupied by Mane last season. Diaz tends to play a bit wider out on the left flank, which leaves room for Robertson to underlap. So I like what I've been seeing, and he's been a bit unfortunate not to get a return as of yet. But even though he has been unfortunate to get a return, we might have to use him as a cash cow, because downgrading Perisic and upgrading Pedro Neto might not be enough unless there's someone in the 7 million bracket that potentially emerges. If we did Perisic straight down to like a 4 million defender, we only have 5.9. So maybe Nico Williams, as an example, could be someone we go to. But again, that only gives us 1.9 million, and that's just under the likes of Gundogan. Are there really any 7 midfielders that will pique my interest? Maybe like a Harvey Barnes, but he plays Chelsea away in game week 4, so that's probably not great either. If we just undo that transfer there. So it might have to just be Robertson, and maybe we just kind of attack the game week and go for the likes of Diaz, or maybe if Jota's back, that could be a way in as well. Maybe we even go for the likes of a Firmino in there, or maybe we just do kind of a stopgap transfer and kind of wait and see. Maybe it's a swap out like a Perisic to downgrade and get a little extra funds. So maybe it is Perisic to the likes of Cucurella for the time being, if we feel that Perisic is now going to be a rotation risk. It seems like Cucurella is going to play pretty much no matter what, whether it's left-sided center back or left back. Doesn't really matter at 5 million. And then maybe maybe the week after, we kind of hold Robertson if he's still not looking great, or Nunez is back for game week 5. Would it be? Because he'd be out. No, he'd be out till game week 5, but maybe we want to bring in Diaz, or maybe someone else emerges there. Again, if we thought that right away we could go for an 8 million midfielder, let's say we keep Perisic, and he seems to be doing fine, we would then have to get rid of Robertson. We would downgrade him to, again, we could get Cucurella here. We have 2.5 million. And in terms of Neto replacements, you're looking at 8 million midfielders. Maybe we go for the likes of Bukayo Saka if he really explodes versus Bournemouth. Then we get him for Fulham and Aston Villa. And maybe he's gone down in price as well by that time, because there'll be a lot of managers that if he doesn't do well in this upcoming game versus Bournemouth away from home, he might go down to 7.9. So we might get him in before he then explodes versus Fulham and Aston Villa. Maybe he's playing a weakened United team at the point of when they go to play them. Everton at home is going to be a good fixture. Brentford away and Spurs away. We could be wildcarding Arsenal players away at that point. So that might be kind of a thing to go for. That would be if we didn't have Ramsdale, though. So that kind of blocks us out for that. Maybe we think that we want to get some Spurs coverage, so Kulusevski would be in there. So maybe the stopgap point could be, if we wanted to get more information, to get rid of Ramsdale first and go for somebody else, even though we like Ramsdale. Maybe it could be a wild card, but we're going to have 2 free transfers, so that's probably not the greatest idea either. So I think personally, even though he is playing Chelsea, I think that maybe Maddison is someone that we potentially look at. And the reason being is because by the end of the Chelsea fixture, I believe the transfer market will be pretty much done and dusted. Let me just double check that. I'm going to look at my calendar. So by the time next weekend rolls around, so the game week 4 will be the last game week before the transfer window closes, because it'll close towards the end of the following week after that, in between game week 4 and 5. Man United at home, Aston Villa at home, Brighton away. Those could be pretty good fixtures for Maddison if Man United haven't, kind of got their, selves together. Brighton could be quite good for Maddison. Aston Villa at home, they don't look to be particularly great, but it could be a punt. But we could also just go for the likes of Kulusevski. If we had the available funds to do so, we would have to downgrade Cucurella to a 4.5 if we wanted to do that, though. So maybe it would be Diaz that would just come in if he were to potentially still underperform or not do anything this coming game week versus United. There might be a lot of sellers, and we could potentially get him in for a 7.9 million price tag, and then have him versus Bournemouth, Newcastle, Everton, and Wolves, because like we mentioned before, Nunez won't be back until after Newcastle, because he'll be suspended for game week 3, 4, and 5. And then he'll be back for the Everton game, which particularly we may not necessarily want through Liverpool for that. Derby games, you don't really know what's going to happen. And then Wolves at home could be a tricky, just kind of tough fixture just in general, just because Wolves typically are quite defensively sound. So again, there's a bunch of different things we can do. All in all, I think we need a bit more information. I'm kind of inclined to keep the team as it stands at the moment. Because it just looks, the team on paper looks pretty good. I mean, we got Salah captain, triple Liverpool versus Bournemouth. We got triple Arsenal versus Fulham. We're looking okay. We'll have Neto in the team instead of Andres Pereira. Maybe we go for the likes of a Cucurella if Perisic is not looking like he's going to be, involved, or is going to be very, very rotation prone, as it were, especially with the European fixtures around the corner after game week 4. So maybe we just need to wait for a little bit more information. It'd be very telling this week what happens. If Perisic comes in, then maybe he's going to be the guy playing in the Premier League, which could help out if Conte were to do that. But it seems like he is very, very kind of flippant on his wing backs, because it's a very demanding position in his formation. So maybe we'll just never be able to catch the holes, and it just be a luck-based thing. But let me just think down in the comments below. For Gaming 4, what do you think I should do? What transfers do you have lined up potentially for next week? Are you rolling this week? Are you using a transfer? Are you taking a hit? Are you playing a wild card? Let me know everything down in the comments below. And if you have any transfer questions, make sure to join us for our live stream for the deadline tomorrow, 1 hour before the FPL deadline. There's a pinned comment down below to let you know the details. And yeah, that's going to do it for our lineup preview. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the one place that you need to be tuned into for the upcoming FPL season. It has a wide variety of resources and tools that will help improve your FPL game today. It has a bunch of different members-only articles written by some of the best FPL managers across the globe, heat maps for all the players and positions, as well as player comparison tools, which will help you see side by side who is going to be more effective for your FPL team, fully customizable stats tables powered by Opta stats, and much, much more. Use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to the Fantasy Football Scout members area today. It'll help improve your FPL game. This video has been sponsored by Manscaped, the best in male below-the-waist grooming. Make sure to check out manscaped.com so you can see the latest and greatest updates to their lawnmower, as well as their performance package, and much, much more for all their gadgets and gizmos to help keep your family jewels looking as shiny as ever. Make sure to use the code FLAME20 so that you can get 20% off your next Manscaped order, as well as free worldwide shipping. Go check out manscaped.com today. And that is going to do it for our lineup preview for Game Week 3. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so you can get the content as soon as it's readily available. Also, drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, and give us a follow over on Twitch so you can join us live for our preview and deadline streams, which we will be doing tomorrow, 1 hour before the FPL deadline. There's a pinned comment down below to let you know the details on the streams, as we do all of our streams over on Twitch for this FPL season. And lastly, shout out to Fantasy Football Scout. They've been providing all the stats that you see on any of our videos that are provided from their exclusive members area. There's a link in the description below, so make sure to check that out. They have a sale on, so you can get the preseason reduction, and that'll be as long as you have Fantasy Football Scout for the time being. But this is the last week that you can get that, so make sure to check it out. Check out the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the tables, everything in there, exclusive articles, all that sort of stuff. It's great. It's going to help improve your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until next one, take care.